Hello, everyone. We're back at it again at Hope Hill Center. Back with another podcast. I am here with our guest, which is Lesego. Thanks for coming, my brother.
Appreciate, brother. Appreciate,
100%.
appreciate, appreciate.
Yeah, this brew came all the way from Freiburg to do this podcast with us. So yeah, we're just gonna get into, just for you to tell us more about your experiences in active addiction and in recovery and all that. But before we get into that, I just want to know, how clean are you?
For now, I'm 212 days clean now, so 7 months. If you put into that perspective,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, it's a long journey, but it's an exciting journey. To be honest to you, it's fantastic.
100%. That's great, my brother.
Yeah, brother.
Congratulations on that. So yeah, how about you tell us more about, before we get into the recovery, how was active addiction for you?
For me, I will give you straight. It's more like being in hell. It's a place I wouldn't advise anyone to go into. It's a very horrible place. For me, I was in a my DOC was alcohol. I was drinking at any time. You give me a, anything, I'll go and drink, brother. It was that moment where for me, alcohol was the only thing that can save me. I thought there were thoughts there and there to hang myself, to kill myself. There were thoughts there and there. Because for me, alcohol for me bought me time. My DOC bought me time, honestly speaking. Reason being, it's what you call post trauma. It was one of those things that made me to become an addict. It started at an early age. I think I was 9 years old, and then honestly, my father left us. My father left us at an early age. At first, you don't pick it up, but later when you grow up, those little things they come into one and they try to destroy you. And then I was doing well, but as time goes by, those things starts to catch up with you. So I started to become an alcoholic. I think 2012. Yes, that's when I started drinking, and I was drinking heavily, bro, up until now in 2024. That is where it was my peak. I was drinking from Monday to Monday. At any time, if you give me one beer, one is too many, 1,000 is never enough. You know that.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, brother. Yes, that's how it all came about. And then in between there, I will tell you that, like they say, your post trauma, it's horrible. My father created this. He started all the story of my life. He came back, and it was never the same again because I was fond. I was close to my father. The bond was so great for me. So my father left us, came back, thrust him back, and then our relationship at home was broken. Just me and my sister and my mom there, and it was never a nice place to grow up into because the environment, it was always horrible because we had hopes, we had dreams, we had everything. But my father started that. We don't know what began the story, but we know in between the story he had somebody, he was seeing somebody, and then that I hold that for a very long time up until I came to Hope Hill. That is when I released that anger. That is when they taught me how to control that energy, how to learn, how to accept. And then I'm very thankful today because I had a horrible life throughout my life because I couldn't speak up. Alcohol was the voice for me. Was the voice for
100%.
me.
Yeah, because it tends to do that, because, no matter what we've been through in life, the alcohol tends to, make us escape reality. It doesn't give us that thing of like, I really need to face what I need to face. The stuff that I've been holding on to, I don't get to deal with them. I get to suppress them. And then I guess that's where the problem lied to when you became an alcoholic, because there was a lot of things that you haven't dealt with emotionally and mentally, and then in a result you went straight to the alcohol, and then you found your, how can I say that, your safe place there.
Yeah.
It was everything to you. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was your voice, it was the way you did things. It basically became everything to you. Um, I used to call everything that whatever thing that people use, I used to call it their first love.
Yeah, too.
it's
Nicely
like
put, eh? I love
it's
that.
like the first thing. It's like the first thing
Yeah.
that you touched that made you not feel anything, that would
Yeah.
numb anything, that felt like your first love. And until we get to a point where now that first love starts betraying us, we start becoming people that we are not. We start to become people that people are afraid of. They don't want to be around. We get irritating. We start doing stupid things. We start acting a certain way. And then that's when the DOC starts to betray us. It's like I thought you were gonna be in my life. I thought you were gonna help me with everything. Instead, you made it worse.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the problem comes to when it stops working. When you can still drink or you can still smoke, but everything is still there. It doesn't actually numb anything like that
Just for that
anymore.
moment.
Yeah, it doesn't
Doesn't.
actually, that effect is gone.
Yeah, it's
Because you've
gone.
been doing it for so long, then it's like, okay, now what's next? You know? But yeah, I do understand that, Um but yeah, I'm gonna ask you, like, yes, you said something about Hope Hill. Like, how was your experience here at Hope Hill? Like, into detail.
All right. Hope Hill for me, for me, I came with an idea.
Mm.
All right. Came with the idea. I had this idea instilled into my head, like a rehab. They just give you pills, they inject you, you get the picture. That was my thinking. I have this idea, I have this thought. But lucky enough, I was very fortunate because I came with Mkosi from Freiburg. He was giving me little words, some hints, what to do, what to expect, what I should do. He said something special for me, and I always carry it. When you get to a rehab, brother, take those cotton wool in your ears, shut them into your mouth, listen, go there and listen. And then for me, I took that and I did that. My first day, I will say I came drunk. I was drinking along the way. In the morning, I was drinking. You know what we do as addicts. Yeah, you get that quick, the last one. They call it the last one.
The last fix.
The last fix. Yes, yes. So I was drunk, but I tried to act as if. And then I didn't see my first day. I went straight to sleep. I think we arrived late, I think around 12, 2, and then they did all those things, like the packing, unpacking and stuff, checking us and everything. And then my second day now, that is when it hits. I'm actually here.
Because you're sober now.
I'm sure reality kicks. Yeah, reality kicks. And for me, I was nervous. I'll tell you that I was nervous. I was so nervous. But for me, Hope Hill was one of the greatest places I ever had been into because they teach you a lot. You have to bring yourself in. You have to be honest. Those little things, when you're an addict, those are opposite. I did the opposite. I was a manipulator, I was a liar, I was all those kind of things. So they started teaching you the ways. You write your own stories. They teach you about the 5 pillars. And then I started to follow because I was listening. I started to follow, and then hope you, I'll guarantee to my life it did the work. It did the work, and I can't put in words, honestly speaking, because I'm overwhelmed with currently. Yeah, it's like the greatest place. I was like in heaven. Let me say that, because the devil in me was killed, brother. That's more what I can say to you. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because a treatment facility is supposed to, that's the point of, like, us, putting in the work and them giving us the tools. You know what I mean?
Oh, God.
But yeah, like, it did help because you hear, you hear, you're breathing. So
Yes.
that's good
Yes.
enough for me. Because like yeah, you said something about you thought rehab was like for pills and shit like that.
Yeah.
I remember back in those days, right? I thought rehabs were like for crazy people, because like when you're watching movies, you're seeing like people bumping their heads on the walls, and I'm like, nah, but this
Yeah,
is
that's nah,
hectic.
you can't go there. Nobody goes there.
100% until
Yeah.
you start walking into the doors, and then you see something different. You see people that are very compassionate, loving, caring, willing to help you with whatever you're going through, regardless of what it is. And to a point where, you know, everyone inside is the same.
Hmm. True that.
No one is treated differently.
Hmm.
Everyone is the same, equally treated and, equally helped, you know. Um, and the ones that make it is the ones that actually want help, not the ones that need it, you know. Because if you want help, the drive is a bit different than when you need something, you know. So I'm glad that you made it this far, and you're still going. I believe so.
The journey is nice, bro. The journey, fuck.
Yeah, we're gonna
I'm the
talk about that
luckiest man,
actually.
honestly. I'm the luckiest man to witness this, honestly speaking. I will say I was the chosen one. I was, honestly.
I was actually going to say something about the chosen one.
Yeah,
Like
shit.
there's this other profound saying that says, recovery, right? It's not for the, it's not for the chosen one. It's for the few who choose it.
Oh, wow, wow. Nice.
you
Wow.
know. So basically, you chose recovery.
Oh,
That's why you're
shit.
here.
Shit.
Because to some degree, I wasn't there with you in rehab or whatever the case is. I didn't see your process, but I can see your progress. If that makes sense,
Yeah,
you
true
know,
that.
because you're still here and you're still clean. So automatically, in a result that you did put in the work, and you're still clean, which means you're still putting in some work. So yeah, like let's talk about like how your recovery has been in this 200 days, um like the challenges in recovery, how you overcoming them.
It's funny. You know why it's funny? Because I'm still scared of one thing:
Mm,
relapse.
mm,
This thing crosses my mind almost every day. It's a scary part
mm,
because I'm enjoying the journey.
mm,
The first day I left the rehab, I told myself the first rule: abstain. Don't even try.
mm,
All right. And then I said to myself, they teach you the relapse was worse. It gets worse. So I taught myself and I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to drink. All right. And then I started the journey without drinking. I did the step work. I did all the 5 pillars. It's crazy how close I am to God currently. I used to hate the guy. I hated him. I thought he was the mess of my life. But
mm,
brother, I opened arms to the higher power.
mm,
And then you know what he does? Everything that I touch turns to gold. I'm
mm,
like, wow. Like honestly speaking, I went out. Like when you out from rehab, the sharks are there. Everyone wants piece of you because they
mm,
think you're still the old you. But I genuinely changed. I am a changed man now. So I didn't say a lot. They could tell.
mm,
My action was louder.
mm,
And then at that moment, I started to see myself, okay, I don't talk about people. My family, they don't drink anymore. I'm shocked. We used to drink together. My family stopped. And I'm like, okay, why? And then they were like, we just have to stop. Okay, good for you then. If you support him, that's great also. So my workplace, people, I started changing. I started doing things that I've never done before, but they turned out very well. I started engaging with the learner, started engaging with the teacher. I opened the awareness by our school. I'm sharing stories there by school. We're thinking of opening an NPO about awareness, addiction. I'm starting doing well for myself. Now I'm doing my honors, which is very grateful. I'm applying for NTAs. I'm active, bro. My workplace is fantastic. My family, my relationship with my father is good, phenomenal. It was just waiting for me, honestly speaking. It was just waiting for me. Our relationships, we talk a lot, we share a lot. Well, my father never had alcohol, he never smoked in his entire life because I think my addiction comes from my father's side because most of my father's brothers and sisters, they're all addicts. So now I can tell this is genetic for me. So I could understand now why he couldn't speak nicely to me because I was the reminder of him more like what will he be like. So that is why maybe he was this towards me. But for me now, we are clean. We are very happy family. That's what recovery does. The connection is a bit better. The trust is there. Yes. They are just the communication is balanced. True that. True that. And for me, I will say, recovery is a beautiful thing. And I wish so much that people could be there, man. The recovery is something special. It's fantastic. It's like doing heaven, honestly speaking. It's like heaven. Because God is there all the time. It's within you. Subconscious, everything. The God in you, you can feel it. That's why they normally say, choose your own God. And I chose it. And He works, bro. Works all the time. That one, it's a one. I'll cry, man. Don't make me cry, but yeah. It's those stories that I'm fortunate for. And then I will always be grateful for this moment. That coming in Hope Room made me see what a better person, a better version of me. And I'm definitely not going to change. I'm just too scared, but I'll never pick it up again. I promise myself that I prayed about it and I'll never ever pick it again. Because I know when I pick, I know myself. I know myself. I'm going to destroy whatever that I'm building currently. And it's going to be disappointment for myself. Let's just speak, I'm doing this for myself. Honestly, that's the most important thing. Me first. I always put myself first, and I pray for that also. I mean, was like that little bit of clean time that you really do have, like with 200 days, like there's a lot that's been happening with recovery. Like there's so many gifts that recovery has given you, and you know there's so many gifts in recovery. And I can imagine if 200 days has given you this, what can 2 years give you? You know what I mean? Yeah, recovery just has a lot of gifts. Yeah. But it only has one promise. There's only one promise, and that promise is the desire to stop you. Yes. Yeah. That's what recovery promises us. The desire to stop using. And yeah, it looks like your journey. I feel like it does have a little bit of ups and downs. But you're pulling through. It's like with everything going on in your life and how beautiful it is. It's like when something comes up, you look to yourself and be like, "Now I've come a lot. I've come from a long way. I'm not gonna miss this out. This is like you don't miss this, bro. Get it once in your lifetime. Hey, you don't miss it out. Honestly speaking, get it once in your lifetime, bro. Because you get those temptations. I feel like the temptations are there. You see people drinking. Even like on a good day, it's still fine. But also like when you're having those rough days, because we're also human at the end of the day. Even though we work recovery and all that, we're still human. And then you get those bad days, that you really have, and people might be drinking and stuff like that. It might tempt you to some extent because you're having a bad day and you're still early in recovery and you look to yourself and be like, that would look nice. But I'm not like that. I'm not like that. If I start, I won't finish. I'll start with two of them and then it's too many. Too many. 1,000 is never enough. I wrote that in my story. What is too many? Because if I, if the message, why is too many means a lot? Because I was that guy. I would tell myself I would just drink one, but never stop, never stop. And then when I read about this, and I said to myself, this is actually the message for me. So this is the one message that I will use daily. Like I wake up in the morning. You'll be surprised when I tell you I wake up probably 6, 7 in the morning. And then I'll write something down. The first thing that comes into my mind, I'm not going to drink today. That's the first principle that I have, at least for today. And I use that almost every day. And it works. For me, it does work. And I know life is life. We got challenges. We face those difficult times. So, but at least I didn't drink. That's what makes me wake up in the morning. And I wake up with a smile, I promise you that. A big smile. That's what keeps me awake and say, fuck, I made it. It's like I'm winning trophies every day when I don't drink. Honestly, yeah. I'm getting medals every day, like shit, I've made it, yeah. Yeah, I'm proud of myself, honestly, yeah. I'm giving credit to myself all the time. I deserve something.
And I like how you said when you said you're doing it for yourself,
Yeah.
to some point, it might look a little bit selfish, but it's actually not because, to some degree, like when you're not doing it for yourself, right, it's so easy for you to go back, because when you say you're doing it for yourself, it actually means a lot because if you're doing it for yourself, basically you're doing it for everyone else around you. Because they get to keep you, they get to see you, they get to see the health of you, they get to, you know, have that connection with you, the trust, the love, the care, all that kind of stuff, gets to be in one thing if you're doing it for yourself, because automatically you're doing it for them. Because if you're doing it for someone else, if you have an altercation with that person, you're not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know why I'm doing it for my best friend. Nah, if you fight with your best friend, you're gonna use. You're not doing that anymore. So yeah, I just like how you said that. You put in your recovery first. And that's the biggest thing, that I've heard is anything that you put before your recovery, you will lose. You know, recovery comes first because it becomes a part of you. So every little thing that you've gained, that's recovery. You know, the minute we get away from recovery, then the disease comes into place. And then it comes in the forefront, and then disease controls us. And then that first love comes again, and we're like, I won't hurt you this time.
You have all this
And then,
confidence.
yeah, that disease is lying to you. It always comes and be like, I won't hurt you this time. Just
Try
try.
me, man.
Just one, just try me again. I won't hurt you this time, and then hurt you. Yeah, that's what we call insanity. We're doing the same thing all over again, expecting a different result.
Yeah.
And that's yeah. I think that also comes to when I think about insanity, that definition of sanity, it comes to making a decision based on your truth. So making that decision based on your truth, it's like your truth. You know that okay, if I pick up this drink, I won't stop.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it comes. That's how you break that insanity of doing the same thing all over again, expecting a different result because you know your truth. You know when you start doing this happens. You know that when you entertain certain conversations, this happens. You know that when you put yourself in a certain relationship and then you see that it's toxic and then you ignore the signs, you know what's gonna happen. So that's where you have to make those decisions and be like, okay, hold on, this looks familiar.
Yeah.
This stuff looks familiar. Let me just relax there. Let me not do that. Let me not do that to myself. I deserve better than this. And that's the thing. We know that that is not healthy, but we still do it anyway. And then when we stop doing that and look at the sanity um, perspective, that's when everything changes around us. You know, that's where we start to think proper and make healthy decisions going forward in our lives. You know, so yeah, bro, I'm just gonna ask you another thing for you to do, right? I
Mhm.
want you to send one message to one of our guests. Um, sorry, to one of our listeners. Even if you can just say something, just to give them a little bit of hope or any advice that you would like to give to them.
All right. How about one message? Trying to dig into my brain, but one message is for me is if you feel like there's something that's destroying you
Mm,
and you can't get any control of that, seek help as soon as possible. Get help as soon as possible. There are people out there that are willing to help you.
mm,
There are people, and then please go out there, reach out. People will do definitely. Companies like this help you. There are a lot of things out there, brother.
mm,
So seek help as soon as you identify that you have a problem. Because for me, I didn't know even addiction was a disease.
mm,
Thanks to that, now I know this is a disease.
mm,
The only way to stop is to abstain.
mm.
Simple. But I wouldn't have known if I didn't come to the whole thing. So, guys, we know how this thing works. South Africa is a hotspot. It's a red flag. Drugs, alcohol, all types of addiction. South Africa, it's
Mm,
I don't know what happened, but it's part of that.
mm.
So for me, if you see losing yourself, seek help. That's the message I can always say. Recovery is so beautiful, but I don't know how can I share this, but recovery is one of the most basic things that tells you you are in heaven. Honestly speaking, I'm flying currently. I'm an angel. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's one message I can share to you guys. Yeah,
I
seek
like
help.
that.
Seek help as soon as possible.
I like that. I like that. Reach out.
Reach out.
Yeah, yeah, reach out. That's actually a good one.
You
Guys, reach out. He said it himself. Reach out if you need help. We are here to help you. Yes, this is going to be the end of our podcast. So if you do want to visit our website, it's www.hopehealcenter.co.za. Um, and thank you again for coming, brother.
appreciate
I know you came from far away.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yes.
Appreciate you,
But I appreciate it. It's worth it. It's worth
100%
it.
sharing your experience, it helps. It helps 100%. Even if, like I say it all the time, even if it doesn't help a lot of people, even if it helped one person, I'm fine with that. You know? Please like and subscribe to our channel. And this will be the end of our podcast. Bye, guys. See you next time.